Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. I assumed this would be a standard Artisan Cutlery unboxing, but with some of the paperwork they sent me, I noticed there was one element that might make these a little bit more interesting than what we would normally expect. I can't wait to get them out and look at them for myself and share them with you guys. Thanks to Artisan for sending them in. Sending them in. I will link this stuff down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want to. Okay, so they are not labeled, so we're just gonna do them one at a time here. I had to re-record this segment, so I've already gotten partially into. I think it was actually this one. Yeah, because I just cut this one. But anyways, I can't wait to share with you guys the element that is what. Oh wow! This is the one that I didn't open up. This one is substantially more aesthetically pleasing. Wow, dude! I should have done. Okay, well I'm gonna go ahead and get out the other one where I had to cut it because of a lot of noise that was in the background. But this other one I got out it's okay. Like if you're, some people might say you like this one better, and that's fine. Personally, I wasn't really into the wood and the bolster, like the regular steel or aluminum bolster look. This one obviously has the same metal bolster. It's just all black. But this looks real clean. Now, it's not the aesthetic that I find interesting. I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way so we can focus on this knife. What you can see here is we have two buttons. What is going on here? First of all, crown spine. That's really cool. Also, I believe this is AR RPM 9, G10, and it has to be aluminum. It doesn't feel incredibly heavy up here, so I imagine it's an aluminum bolster, and then we have a steel liner. But the black and gold, super nice looking. Kind of a combination of modern and traditional, and that's all great, right? The button here, which is, by the way, gold all the way through. Push the button and it drops the blade as expected. But what's this second button here? It's actually a safety for the button lock. A solid safety. It doesn't move at all. So why the safety? Well, plunge locks, not all button locks are the same. Sometimes buttons actuate a liner lock. Sometimes they actuate a frame lock. And sometimes they actuate a compression lock as far as button operated locking systems that we've seen so far. The plunge lock, some are definitely better than others, is definitely notorious for disengagement during spine impact. Now, I don't love the spine whack test, but I usually give knives just a quick triple tap just to see, right? I think there are situations sometimes where, a couple of light spine taps, as long as it survives it, gives the end user the impression like, hey, as long as I use this as a normal knife, with a couple of maybe outside the normal parameter scenarios here and there, it should do exactly what I expect. I think people who, take these and beat them, senseless on the spine when the locking system specifically is definitely not designed to hold up to that type of use, or the knife itself is not meant to be used in scenarios where that is likely, I think that's a little ridiculous, right? So, the safety, obviously, is them wanting to continue to use the standard plunge lock, but also give people the reassurance of it locking out. Interesting, because if you're new, so this is not engaged. The safety is not engaged right now. This is enough to handle what I would normally expect of it, right? Just a couple of triple taps, but a triple tap, sometimes with an additional tap. But with this additional safety in place, which, by the way, it takes a pretty deliberate amount of force. You can hear it clicking. Pretty deliberate amount of force. Looking at this now, it looks like it's a second plunge lock is what's happening here. So it's not able to slip off the other side. This, to some people, implies that this knife is now intended for hard use, and I would argue against that. I feel like that should be obvious, but apparently it isn't all the time. I still wouldn't call this a hard use knife, but I do like the idea of, hey, I'm about to use this for, I guess it could still be considered a knife task, but it's a little bit more risky, right? I think in a scenario where it's like the one that I always used, if you've got the knife buried deep into thick material and you're trying to kind of wrench it back out, or that that's a possibility, I think having the option to engage an additional plunge lock, which is that's what I'm going to call it. I've never seen a secondary lock that looks like this. I think that's kind of a cool idea, right? So what's the likeliness of disengaging the secondary lock and accidentally depressing the button lock at the same time? Well, I'm going to put my index finger, I'm going to choke up, put my index finger right on this button. I'm also going to squeeze as hard as I can right on top of the safety. I can feel it move. Is it possible for me to disengage the safety? I can push it in a little bit, but you can see there I squeezed as much as I could. And all I'm doing is managing to push this button down, right? I'm not actually... Yeah, I don't think I can actually... If I try to disengage the button, like the safety's enough to hold it in place. Wish there was a way to... I'm pushing the button and just using the safety there. I'm not hitting it very hard. I can get that. Okay. So if I've got this button pushed down and this, I'm doing this just for science, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a professional of anything. I want people to understand what I'm doing here. So I am intentionally pushing this button down and just pushing the button down, but relying only on the safety, which, by the way, is not a scenario anyone should ever be in. I mean, there is no natural scenario, right? So I'm just trying to figure out how much is that safety actually doing, right? So it's engaged right now completely. I can get it to disengage, but it takes quite a bit. And under a normal situation, in a normal circumstance, you're going to have both. So right now, I gotta do this. I gotta find out. Right now, I have both the plunge lock and the secondary lock engaged. We're going to put on the gauntlets. Don't do this. This is a stupid test. It's a stupid test. Okay, both are engaged. All right? I'm actually, here, let's do this one. Are they both engaged? So here we go. And let's just go ahead and, I'm going to flick it out completely. And we're going to do this. Okay, so we've got both engaged now. Can I get it to disengage with more than reasonable force? I'm going to apply excess, like force that no one should apply to a knife like this. Okay. I can if I put an incredible amount of force into it. So that's what it takes to get both. I'm going to try it again. To get both locks to disengage. Yeah, I can still get them both to disengage. Now it's almost like it doesn't take nearly as much. So it's 2 plunge locks. It's not a safety system that's going to prevent any and all disengagement, but it is certainly more than the lockup that you get from just the... It's certainly more safety than you get locking up just the standard plunge lock, right? So, yeah, and people are going to draw different conclusions from this. But again, what I was doing with it is completely and totally outside of the norm, right? I think that in the craziest of circumstances, you're simply wrenching the blade back and forth from a position where it's wedged, in which case the plunge lock engaging from both sides should be enough. I don't think that there's a situation during normal use where you would accidentally disengage the secondary lock and the plunge lock just by squeezing it. I think the only way to get everything to disengage and the knife to disengage is simply by, like hitting it with a substantial amount of force. I would say, versus what I normally do, which is just, you guys saw it here, a normal, both safeties engaged. This one's really actually wanting to disengage now. So, but, we had to go to the point of abuse to get it to do that. Now it's not. Did I just not engage it all the way? No, it came back out there. Yeah. So now this one's not really working correctly. So, this one is not great. No, now I can get that one to disengage too. it's seeming to take less and less force. Initially, what I was about to say, and this is why we keep going, what I was about to say is if you have to apply enough force to disengage it, it's probably too much. But truthfully, I wasn't giving it very much there. Here's an old Rat 1. I can get that thing to disengage actually pretty easy. Liner lock, right? The crossbar lock here on the Ritter Hope. Nope. Compression lock on the Spyderco PM2. Obviously not. Shark lock. There's no way. Shark lock's essentially a triad lock, right? How about the liner lock on the Rat 2? Yeah, easily. I mean, this is... So, the liner lock on the Rat 2 is pretty easy. I'm sorry, it's pretty easy, but this Rat 2 is fairly unused, right? So, we're essentially in the same territory. I'm just seeing what else I've got out here. CJRB, same company, but their crossbar lock. Yeah, plenty good. A little risky here with no gloves, right? Here's the same exact company with just the plunge lock. Really? Okay. So sometimes they can do it right and sometimes they can't. If I was gonna say a double plunge lock seems okay. I think once you do get to the point, whether intentional or not intentional, if you apply enough force to disengage it, it doesn't look like the safety is going to continue to work. So, I don't love it. I think the answer is, instead of using a plunge lock, do what other companies are doing and do a button-operated liner lock, or better yet, a button-operated compression lock. I think the best types of button-operated locks out there right now are like what's on the Vosteed Raccoon. This is substantially better. And I've tested this thing many times, on and off camera. It should be essentially the same idea as for some reason I'm having trouble getting this glove back on. I don't like the spine whack test. Every time I do this, people, try to pick this apart the wrong way. I think this is not a good test, but I still think a knife should stand up to a little bit, not an intense swing, right? A little bit. This is an amazing lock. We shouldn't be messing around with, plunge locks anymore because the best of them operate just fine. The worst of them are weak and dangerous, right? So I do like how this looks. I was really hoping to say, hey, yeah, that's kind of neat. Like if you just really, really want to have a button lock, at least now these have a safety. It's not a better solution than just changing the lock, but okay, right? I do like how this knife looks. How's it locking up now? Ooh, not good. The plunge lock doesn't even want to engage anymore. So the plunge lock itself, I just for the record, I had to abuse them in order to get. I'm not saying I was forced to abuse them. I'm saying the reason they don't function correctly anymore is because I abused them. That's what happened here. This was not a normal usage scenario. This happened because I abused it. However, a lot of modern pocket knives and their current locking systems can stand up to this baseline level of abuse, right? It didn't take much abuse in order for the knife to simply stop functioning the way that it's supposed to function. What do we have in here? What's going on? Anything shredded? Basically, where the plunge lock, yes, it's just like literally just me pushing on the back of the blade. Can I do it with this one? No. This one, still fine, but I doubt it takes... This one actually is somehow miraculously okay without the secondary engage. This one's fine. This one doesn't seem to want to work anymore. It's too bad. Do I think that this means that the knife won't work for anybody? No, right? People are going to draw their own conclusions from this, and that's what I'm going to leave you with, right? Understand, the facts, what occurred here. Had I not done what I did, which is definitely abuse, I think the knife would probably continue to operate fine under normal circumstances as long as you use it like a pocket knife. Basically, no different than any other standard plunge lock, right? Does the secondary mechanism make it substantially more durable than a standard plunge lock? Not really, surprisingly. So yeah, that's I feel like plunge locks should just go away. Not because they're bad, but because we have too many people out there who will abuse things, right? And or just go slightly over the line. So yeah, you take your own conclusions of this. I'm not incredibly impressed with it, but I'm also not saying it's the whole design is bad because both disengaged when I went over the line. So, but anyways, that's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Thanks to Artisan Cutlery for sending this in. That's going to be it. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on the Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.